Welcome to a special edition of TB3 Sports Talk. It's been a couple weeks now, but we're going to be recapping the Rays postseason and the Rays regular season. It didn't end great, but today we're going to talk about it, see some of the highlights, see some of the lowlights, and ultimately just talk about what the Rays have done in the year 2023.
Yeah, it was a disappointing end to what some would say a successful season. Others would say a season riddled with injury, but I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about, express our feelings on it, and, at the end of the day, we're all fans, so we're going to give you a fan's perspective and a look ahead to what the Rays got coming up in the offseason, maybe some stuff we want them to do, and 2024 is right around the corner, but we must wrap it up. It's a disappointing end, but we have to wrap it up and talk about it.
We're about as candid a podcast as they come, so we'll be honest. We tried to make this episode last week, and some technical issues happened, but it works out because now we can see just how good the Rangers truly were. So we'll hit on that later in the episode.
Yeah, and we were all pretty heartbroken about this game, pretty angry about these two games. So I think it's good that we had a little extra week to, bring to light our postseason Rays episode with a little bit more perspective, a little bit more calmness in us. But we're still not over it. We're still pretty angry about this game because, to be frank, they were terrible baseball games. Both games were out of it. Bad hitting, bad pitching, bad defense. All of it just was not to the level that we know the Rays can play. So, without further ado, I think we're eager to talk about, some stuff, some problems, all that stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'll get your recap. These are going to be your final Rays recaps of 2023. I know that makes me sad. I don't know if that makes anyone else sad, but that makes me sad. I'm going to miss talking stupid Rays baseball. I'm going to miss it a lot. So
162 games just isn't enough.
Yep. So it's October 15th right now, but we are going to take it all the way back to October 3rd, about 12 days ago, where Tuesday afternoon, 3 o'clock game in Tropicana Field, Wildcard Game 1, Texas Rangers head into the Trop to play the Tampa Bay Rays. It's the 4 seed versus the 5 seed, and we have Tyler Glasnow on the bump for the Tampa Bay Rays going against Jordan Montgomery for the Texas Rangers. Should be a pretty good pitching matchup. Let's see how it goes. So, the Rays start off pretty strong with Tyler Glasnow. There's a couple of errors, but Tyler Glasnow was able to pitch a clean first inning. The Rays got some base runners to start, but they were not able to cash in the first. So after the first inning, it was 0-0. And then in the second inning, started off with a Yandy Diaz error. If I'm correct, the Rangers end up getting that runner home on a sacrifice fly. That put them up 1-0. And then at the bottom of this inning, the Rays stranded some more base runners, some more not good critical situational hitting, and the game stayed 1-0 after 2. And then Tyler Glasnow was able to pitch out of trouble again in the third, and then bottom of the third inning, first and third, 1 out, Jose Siri's up to bat. Jose Siri lays down the safety squeeze, but he pops it up, and maybe it's going to drop. Is this going to be the luckiest bunt hit ever? No. Jordan Montgomery out of nowhere dives, catches the ball, gets the out, runners stay put, and the Rays were not able to get a big 2-out hit. The game stayed 1-0, and this is where
it was a good defensive play.
It was a good defensive play.
I was amazed by it.
But this is where the postseason scoring woes started to kick in, and a lot of Rays fans started feeling bad about these games. And then bad defense once again came back to bite the Rays, as in the top of the 6th inning, Corey Seager hit a ball to the wall that really could have been caught by Jose Siri, but it goes off his glove. He gets on base second. It comes around to score on a wild pitch, another defensive error, and then Tyler Glasnow was actually able to strand the bases loaded with 1 out with back-to-back strikeouts, so that felt like huge. But then we didn't know what was going to happen, but Tyler Glasnow came back out for the top of the 6th inning, and this proved to be a poor decision as he walks the first 2 hitters, and then Chris Davinsky comes in and immediately gives up a line drive single up the middle to Corey Seager, and that ball is going to be bobbled by Jose Siri in center field, and then he fires at the third, trying to get the dude taking the extra base. That goes into the dugout. That ends up letting 2 runs score. It makes it 4-0. And quite frankly, Jordan Montgomery, after some traffic in the first inning, settled down nicely. He pitched 7 innings of 0 earned runs. So that sucked, and the Rays didn't even get to the bullpen of the Rangers, which going into the postseason seemed to be a weakness. The Rays were shut out this day. The Rangers got 4 off sloppy defense, and the Rays found themselves down 1 game in the series, headed into an elimination game on Wednesday. So
We're going to get it Wednesday, don't worry.
yeah, we're gonna get it Wednesday, and
This is
yes.
going to 3.
This is going to 3. We're going to get the nice 8 o'clock game on the Thursday. Maybe Colby will be able to be in attendance because he wasn't able to go to either of the other games. Or maybe he won't because the Tampa Bay Rays come back right on their same old stuff. Because Zach Eflin is on the bump against Nathan Eovaldi, a former Ray. We got him for Jalen Beeks. That was a terrible trade. And he's just rubbing it in our faces. So Zach Eflin started this game off, and Zach Eflin, Eovaldi were both really good to start. They both pitched 3 innings of shutout ball, 0-0. And then in the top of the 4th, things started to get bleak. As Adolis Garcia hit a solo home run, absolute bomb to make it 1-0. And then a bloop hit that should have been caught ends up being an RBI triple for Josh Young. The Rangers go up 2-0, and then immediately after, Evan Carter, the 20-year-old phenom, who absolutely killed the Rays, put the Rangers up 4-0, and this is where it started. We started to pack our bags as Rays fans, and it was sad.
Playing our golf.
It was
spots.
playing our trips to Cancun because we knew how this was going to go. As the Rays just could not get a run, they get 1 out away from the 34, which would have been the postseason record if I'm correct, but after the Rangers at this point were up 7-0, but in the bottom of the 7th inning, Curtis Mead finally puts us on the board, making it 7-1. Joel wanted the record, even though it was the worst record ever.
33 scoreless innings. Just give me a couple more outs. I want to be in history.
I did not want to be in
out
history.
away.
They were 1 out away, but Curtis Mead got the big, huge 3 to cut the lead to 42. They actually cut the lead to 7-1. The Rays were able to get some more base runners, but got nothing from it. They would lose this game 7-1 and pretty much get humiliated on the baseball diamond, get humiliated in the crowds because of how little people there were, and it was just a horrible couple days for Rays baseball and Rays fans, honestly.
Yeah, it was just super disappointing, man. And you had me here on the TB3 pod talking about how this is a team of destiny, and I believe. And they fooled me, man. They fooled me. And it's disappointing, especially when you shouldn't have played like that. You were the team going in that had more experience. You were trying to right the wrongs from last year, and you proved you could do that the entire year despite the injuries and despite the off-field, I don't know what we call that with Wander.
Adversity?
But adversity. But despite that, you still should have been able to figure it out, and you couldn't do it. And it's just disappointing is an understatement for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it sucks because, like Will said, there was moments of this season where I was just felt so proud and inspired by what the Rays were doing with all these injuries and bad stories and all these things happening. But, I mean, none of that showed up. It seemed like it was a team asleep, a zombie team just walking and going through the motions but not actually making the plays. The defensive miscues were alarming. I've never seen games like this from the Rays because usually, I mean, the Rays are some of the best defenders in the league normally. They're sure-handed, outfield, infield, catcher, pitcher. All these people are usually sure-handed. The Rays really pride themselves on that, and it was sloppy. It was a sloppy mess for these 2 games.
Part of the thing with that, and I know there's not much way to get around it, but most of the errors that happened came from players that are just coming back after kind of dealing with a season of injury. Jose Siri with that bad error, that play trying to get to the ball in center, and then Yandy Diaz, game 1, had one of the worst defensive games for a shortstop, for a first baseman, I think I've ever seen. So both those guys are coming in injured, probably not 100%. So which player of those would you put as DH? I don't know, but some of that I have to put on management for the Airs.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on Jose Siri. He didn't seem ready to be back. And I know he's been a good player for us. He's hit the home runs. He's made great catches throughout the year. But, I mean, when you're rushing him back and he's just not ready to play, which it looked like he was not ready to play, it is a reflection on the management. Like, I just don't think that was a good decision, honestly. Yandy Diaz was a little different. I think he had to play. And he was playing the weekend before, but Jose Siri, that was his first game off the IL. So that's a tough thing to ask, especially for a center fielder, you know?
With the center field thing, though, like Margot wasn't going to get that ball. Like, we know that. He's not.
Yeah, Margot was having a really rough couple of weeks in center field, too, which kind of, I feel like, made them rush Siri
I guess
back.
if you asked Cash, he'd probably be like, it was the lesser of two evils. So I'd be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Could have put Josh Lowe out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Josh Lowe missed a ball that could have changed the whole game in game 2. So truly, like, I don't want to be harsh. I mean, the Rays gave me a lot of great moments and memories this season. I watched a ton of hours and hours of Rays baseball. They gave me entertainment all year.
How many
but
games do you think we went to?
It was in the 15 to 20 range.
Yeah,
I would
we
say.
went to
a lot of games, and it was a really disappointing effort. It really was, just to see a team just so discouraged and so they seemed like they were defeated before it even started. It seemed like a lifeless team. I just can't really comprehend what happened to them in these last 2 games.
Well, that's the thing that bothers me the most is they were nervous, and the mistakes, man, I can't blame it on injury and coming back too quick. I mean, you just can't make those mistakes in postseason ball, and especially when you're the season team. You're going up against a team that they have a lot of great talent, but you didn't face Scherzer and you didn't face DeGrom in the 2 games. You should have been the better team, and you should have played like it. And the fact that they didn't, it baffles me. And it really makes me question some of the stuff going on inside the locker room and with coaching. It's like you just can't come in and look that unprepared and that out of sorts. I mean, it's just embarrassing. It really is.
I understand where you're coming from with that, but I would disagree with you in a way that we were the better team, the more prepared team. I went into this series expecting the Rangers to win. And the reason for that is not necessarily their postseason experience. I understand they haven't been since, I want to say 2016, might have been 2017. But their individual players have all had a lot of postseason experience. You think of, I apologize, I'm forgetting
Corey
names.
Seager?
Corey Seager, the second baseman.
He's had
Second
some,
baseman,
but not a bunch. Simeon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Scherzer.
Simeon
Scherzer didn't play, though.
I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying. He didn't play.
He did, but I mean, he was in the.
Eovaldi has a bunch.
Eovaldi was in
Aroldis,
Scherzer, Chapman.
But even so, this Rangers team completely collapsed throughout the course of the regular season. They had first place, and they bounce all the way to the last wild card spot. And you look at the Rays, you can say, well, they had a bad July. But this team was able to bounce back and put up great August, great September, and great October for what there was in the regular season. So maybe if the Rangers have better overall players, but the Rays still as a team, we're on a better trajectory than the Rangers were at the end of the regular season.
But with hockey, they say this all the time, it's a new season. And that's how the Rangers were looking at this. Did they get bounced in their spot for first place in the West? Yes. I wouldn't be able to understand that. I mean, with the team, they might have just said, rest up. If we don't get first, it's all right.
Well, I don't think it was that.
And also, we right now, we're seeing, this is much later on since this series happened, but look at what happened with all these teams that got the bye week.
Yeah.
Did any of them make it?
Well, I mean, we didn't get a bye, though, so it's not really the same.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think I trust Bruce Bochy the most out of any manager in all of baseball.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
he might have just, this is just my context, my thought. He might have known we don't want that rest. We want to be playing hard every day until we get to the World Series. So
yeah, but I think wouldn't you want home field advantage throughout, though, if you could?
Not necessarily. I think as a manager, he's probably seen everything that you can see, and he said, let's just keep playing. We don't want the rest.
I think that's feasible a little bit. I don't think that's
it
what
might
happened.
be a stretch.
I
But
think it's a little bit stretch. I think what really is the thing is all season the Rangers have been a very streaky team.
Yeah.
They'll go on 6 to 8
that's fair.
game winning streaks. They'll go on 5 to 7 game losing streaks, stuff like that. So I mean, the streak they were on the end of the year, I think they lost 4 out of 5 or something like that. They were on a bad streak at the end of the year, and we let them get one win, and that's turned into a streak for them. Because I mean, we're looking at it now, and they're on the cusp of getting 6 playoff games in a row, winning. So they're on a good streak. But I still think, in my opinion, I think this series is more about the Rays than it is the Rangers. I know we're missing talent. I know no Brandon Lau, no Wander. Obviously, the starting pitchers were gone.
Beat up Diaz, beat up Siri.
Well, Diaz played in that last.
There's no excuse.
I
for
think he
Diaz.
was playing through an injury.
He was
or two.
probably was, but everyone's hurt at this point.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
But
Look at the Rangers starting rotation.
yeah, exactly. And then also, Luke Raley didn't play, which a lot of people haven't talked about. But I mean, we definitely missed that. We missed
him.
that lefty bat for sure. But my point here is the Rays, even with all these injuries, I feel like they had more than enough talent to go into these games and win with a combination of their pitching and their bullpen and any type of offense. But for the second straight year, I mean, we've scored two runs in 4 wildcard games, and one of those wildcard games went 15 innings. So, I mean, a point I wanted to bring up to kind of get you guys talking, do you guys think in the last couple of years, we've let go some players that maybe weren't producing a bunch of numbers on the field, but I feel like we didn't properly value their leadership in the locker room. People I'm talking about right now are Mike Zunino, Kevin Kiermaier, Willie Adames, people like that. Do you guys think that we've made – Tommy Pham is another one. Do you guys think we've made like a huge mistake releasing those people, or do you guys think that's not as big of a deal as I'm thinking?
I feel like for Adames was pretty immature. Like, granted, I never went in the locker room, so I don't know.
He seemed to be like in the middle of everything. Like he seemed to be one of the big leaders in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
To me,
I guess when
from
he
a
had the interviews, it was
fan-
always like, "You're goofy, man. I don't like you." But Zunino, you're right about Zunino. Like he was an older kind of guy, grizzled, had been in MLB everywhere you could be, and he knew some stuff about baseball, and he probably led well.
I don't know. I don't buy into the leadership role so much because at the end of the day, these guys are all professionals, and they don't need some rah-rah guy in the locker room getting them going every day because these guys are playing for a purpose. That's why they made it this far. And I think that's been the Rays' problem is you shouldn't be bringing in leaders to your clubhouse. You want to be bringing in guys who can hit and guys who can make big plays in the postseason. And they haven't done that. I think the perfect example of why it doesn't matter is you could say, well, in 2021, the Rays brought in Nelson Cruz. You know, he's a leader. A lot of guys probably look up to him because he's played so long. And did he really do that much for them? No, and that's the type of move that the Rays have made the past couple of years that's not going to help them. You need to spend more money, and you need to get some big-name stars in your lineup because when we look at who is our 7th, 8th, and 9th hitter in this season, I mean, that's not going to win you any playoff games. It just won't.
I will agree with you on the part where you said that we need to be bringing in bigger players. This is something that John Smoltz has said on a couple different platforms over the last couple of years. He says that until the Rays bring in a bigger guy, a bigger name, they'll only ever succeed in the regular season. And I think part of that is I'll use to go against Will's first statement that we don't need leaders, is those guys, those bigger guys, and those are the guys who have had playoff experience. They've kind of grown up around a playoff atmosphere, and they now know, oh, this is how you win in the playoffs. Oh, this is how you do it. And the reason I say that for the Rays is because in 2008, we had Cliff Floyd. Cliff Floyd was a great guy. He'd been around the league. He knew how to lead players. And what happens that year, we go to the World Series. And then this one isn't as good, but I'll bring it up. In 2011, we brought in Johnny Damon and Manny Ramirez. We all know what happened with Ramirez. He gets caught for a drug test. It's like, I'm retiring. But the Johnny Damon part, we didn't do well in the postseason that year, but we were back like 11, 12 games at the start of September. And what does he do? He leads us in those important games in September, and we get to the playoffs in 2011 with Johnny Damon as our leader.
But they don't win.
They don't win. They don't win. I'll give you that. But just getting back in September, I think, was about just as good as what you can get in the playoffs for me. Like, that still is one of the key memories of baseball for me.
Yeah, and we'll also compare this roster to that roster. This is a more talented roster
Absolutely.
than 2011.
Yeah,
So if
absolutely.
you have a leader like that who can propel them, and I'm not even saying, like, you said rah-rah. I'm not even saying rah-rah. I'm more saying, like, someone who can calm someone down,
Yeah.
give them points, stuff to look at. I mean, I'm thinking of 2020. We had this is not Rays related, kind of, but Rays were playing Astros. Yandy Diaz is in the box. Framber Valdez is a young pitcher at this point. Framber Valdez throws like his third straight ball to Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz kind of stares him down, right? Tries to punk him. Immediately, Carlos Correa comes in from shortstop. They call time. They have a meeting. Carlos Correa is in his face, telling him to calm down, getting him under control, getting that whole heart rate and pulse under control. And Framber Valdez, if I can remember correctly, got out of that inning. And it's just stuff like that, the accountability, the stuff like that, I think is something we're missing with this team. But I don't think talent is what we're missing. I think it's just some glue and some leadership, in my opinion.
I think it is 100% talent because you could, I mean, if you look back to last year, I think we all chalk it up as that was just a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
was
The
a
Rays
complete
aren't
fluke.
going to – it was a complete fluke. The Rays are going to score runs this postseason, and it's going to be different. And they kind of fooled us for a little bit throughout the year where they all were hitting very well and scoring a lot of runs in a game. And, like, I think the biggest thing, too, is, like, the walk-offs. They led the MLB in walk-off victories. And so I could go, okay – maybe talent isn't their issue, but then you go to the playoffs again and you do the same exact thing this year. Well, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, it is talent. They are missing a lot of bats. They have the pitching who can get them over the hump, but this lineup will never win a World Series. And at this point, this is what the fans deserve, and this is what we have to strive for because so what if we've been in the postseason 5 years in a row? The past 3 seasons have been abysmal. Absolutely abysmal in the postseason, and something's got to change, and you can't throw out the same lineup next year and expect something different to happen. We've seen it 2 years in a row now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I definitely think last year was, I mean, both years were undermanned. We're losing players. I mean, we lost our franchise once-in-a-lifetime player in the middle of the season this year. I mean, we lost one of the best power-hitting second basemen in September this year. It's something I feel like the front office with the players that were put on the roster, I feel like it was enough talent in my opinion. I mean, especially you look at the early season, you look at when they were getting hot at the end of August or May and April. This lineup was banging, and it was deep. There was power. It was all of that. And to me, I can't fault. I'd like to see the Rays spend more money. I'd like to see them go for one of those grizzled vets kind of in the middle of the lineup. But I don't think it's a star power issue. I think the stars are there. They just have to show up.
Well, the stars, can they hit? I mean, this is 2 years now. We say we have these stars, but again, they can't hit. They can't score. They're great in the regular season, but this is 2 years now where they just can't hit. And I just don't think that Wander Franco and Brandon Lau are going to come in and make up 11 runs. They're not going to make up those 11 runs we gave up.
We've seen what Loud does in the postseason.
Well, it's a whole. I mean, 11. Just looking at the basis of 11 runs is like, I don't know. The Rays get a run early in either of those games. It's a completely different game.
That's always what we say in baseball. You have to rattle the pitcher early. Do not let him get comfortable.
And we let them both get comfortable. They got in good grooves, and it was not good for the Rays. I mean, to be fair, neither of our pitchers had great games. I mean, I think we're excited to see Tyler Glasnow come and have a playoff start, and the defense did not help him, but it was pretty mediocre. His pitch count was getting driven up all night. He ended up giving 3 earned runs up in 5 innings, and the start of the 6th inning is really where the game got derailed. Him coming out and walking the first 2 batters that he faced instead of getting one more inning out of him it sucked, man. I was surprised that we let Glasnow go out another inning,
Here's part of the reason
showing
I
our
think they
history.
did that. This just came to me. I think it was partly fan service by Cash. Say, You think I took Snell out an inning early? Well, don't worry. I'll leave him in for you guys.
No, I think it's more just Tyler Glasnow has pitched deep into games all season. I think it's that. But playoffs are different, and you have a lineup that you had to have kept it blueprint blast there. Once it got to 4, it was over. It was over. So Glasnow was 5 innings, pitched 3 runs, and then Zach Eflin did not have his best stuff. It was pretty disappointing. I thought he was going to kind of put in a gym because of how well he's pitched in big games, i.e. Baltimore, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run. But he went 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, and he left numerous pitches over the plate, and he got the Rangers made him pay for it in that 4th inning with 2 home runs. Those are huge blows, and like I said with Glasnow, they're knockout punches, quite frankly.
Both those starts didn't come as a complete shock. Like for me, I kind of went into this thinking Glasnow's probably running out of pitches for the season, just coming off this Tommy John recovery. Like he's kind of being rushed back in, not too much of a spring training for him. So there was that concern with me for Glasnow. So I thought maybe something bad could happen in his start. And then for Eflin, Colby would know the month, but there was a month where he was a bit of a coin flip. And ever since then, I was kind of like, today could be a coin flip. We got a lot of good coin flips toward August and September, but it was always going into it. It's like, oof, what Eflin are we going to see today?
Yeah, I think that was the end of July and the beginning of August, that time period.
Yeah, it was kind of around the middle of August.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, we talked about this, but just to give you guys some, concrete evidence, the Rays had 2 extra base hits in this whole entire series. They had 1 run and 0 home runs. And then in the regular season, the Rays averaged 5.3 runs per game and 1.42 home runs per game. So this is, I know regular season baseball and playoff baseball is different, but this is such a stark difference that it does make you question, is there something wrong with the makeup of the Rays? Because they haven't won a non-COVID playoff series since 2008. I know they've won a couple wildcard games, but they have not won an actual series since 2008 that wasn't bubble. So, I guess money is the obvious thing, but is there anything else that's wrong with the fabric of the Rays when they come to playoff series?
I think for me it's just depth. I know we have depth, but our depth isn't something that you're excited about. I wasn't excited to be oh, Curtis Mead's our third baseman, let's go. I'm glad that's our depth right now. And then I think in our minor league system we need to be raising up guys who are ready to be starting pitchers day one. I'm sure I don't know what the minor league system looks like as far as pitching goes, but when our pitchers go down, we're going to lose at least 2 a year. I want to be able to see a couple guys who have been starting pitchers in Durham.
Yeah, I think, of course, money is number 1, and then way, 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 way down the pole at number 2 would be analytics. I think Kevin Cash is a big analytics guy, and I think it works very well in the regular season. I think you could also say the Rays have mastered the regular season, but I just think you look back at 2020 when they pulled Blake Snell early, and it was because of his pitch count, even though Blake Snell was dealing up until that point. And I think Kevin Cash said it's because he was at 100 pitches or something like that. And Blake Snell had gone to 100 pitches multiple times that year, but the analytics were telling Kevin Cash it's time to pull him. And I think you can see some of those mistakes in the postseason this year. Again, I think he went with his gut and kept Glasnow in,
Snell had 107 pitches in 2021.
Yeah, did I say 106?
You said 100. I just looked it up to give you the exact number.
But yeah, I think something must have told him to put Davinsky in because, in my opinion, that move should have never happened. Yeah, you can't fault him because Glasnow walked 2 guys before that, but come on, Davinsky's been bad all year and he immediately gives up a hit, so I don't like that, and I just think Caminero is a hot hand, and you should have put him at shortstop over Taylor Walls. You should have for both games. I think that was a mistake, and I just think little moves like that, it's going to end up costing you.
I found the wrong game. Get this. Snell was only at 73 pitches.
73, wow.
73 pitches.
73.
Brutal.
So he went more he went more than that multiple times throughout that year, but instead Cash pulls them for some odd reason, most likely analytics. And I think doing that in the postseason just does not work. It doesn't work. And if they continue to do that, they will lose.
here's something. This is now a couple weeks after the postseason's ended for us. The two managers in the ALCS right now are Bruce Bochy and give me the name of the Astros
Dusty
guy.
Baker.
Dusty Baker.
And then also
The two oldest.
And then the Phillies manager is an old school manager too as well, Rob
Old
Thompson.
school is
So
what
that's
works.
3 out of the 4 are old school, not really relying on analytical analysis of baseball. So I'm with you guys.
So I wonder if the analytics kind of idea might start dying out, because if it's not bleeding into postseason success, what's the point?
No, and I definitely think those teams
Because
are
look
still,
how many times Bruce Bochy's won the World Series
That's
in the
true.
last 10
And
years.
I do
and Dusty
think
Baker's
like
got one now too.
they're still using analytics. They still have analytical people on their staff telling them things, but I think they're just better at deciphering when to use those analytics for decisions or when to kind of go with their guts.
Yeah, it's not their
But it's
backbone.
not. Yeah, it's not like those teams aren't using analytics. Not what we're saying, but the whole having your manager be like basically like a numbers puppet instead of like an actual person running the clubhouse, I do think that's going to go away because it's backfired on numerous times. Like this year, the Blue Jays were in their game 2 of the Wildcard game, and they had Jose Barrios start the game, and he was pitching great, and they had already, because of the numbers and the batters and the statistics and all that, they had already planned that they were going to use Yusei Kikuchi after Barrios had gone through the order one time. And even though Barrios was dealing, everyone could see it. He had his best stuff. He was pitching it out. They still went with the decision, even though it was not the right decision. Kikuchi gave up a run like immediately upon coming in, but they had already made that decision based on the numbers like the night before the game. So it's like stuff like that I think is going to kind of like it's going to slowly revert back to like old baseball. And I do think, I don't know, Kevin Cash, there's definitely plenty of analytics in the Rays system and what they're using, but he definitely has good relationship, and I think a lot of times he has good feel, but there has been some big things. So, I mean, we can think of, right now, I think a lot of people kind of go after the managers after big games, but right now I think we can think of, like, what were the big decisions, and can we like fault him for making the big decision? I know Will mentioned Caminero at shortstop was one big decision.
And then putting
Davinsky instead of one of the flamethrowers, I think that was a poor decision. I think we can all agree on that. Because we didn't even end up using Bob Steve or Fairbanks. I would have liked to see
that one for me is a bit of a hindsight is 2020, but I wouldn't have mind seeing like.
We had plenty of better options. Even
Yeah,
like Jake Diekman or someone would have been a better option.
But this is the thing. Like, I'm a fan. I'm sitting at home. I watch all the Rays games. And, yeah, Davinsky's had a couple good starts here and there. But ever since we've got him, that dude has given up multiple home runs, multiple leads, multiple big hits. So it's like, why would you put him in? And first off, why would you put him in over Kevin Kelly, who by far had the better season all year for your postseason roster? That's a big thing for me. I think for hindsight's 2020, I think not putting Josh Lowe in, because I just think like, okay, well, yeah,
that was
Josh
game
Lowe's,
1. He was in game 2 lineup. Game 1, there was a lefty on the bump. Josh Lowe was not in the lineup. Manuel Margot played right field.
yeah,
Just so we're
and
clear.
with Margot, I just think he was batting pretty well since he came back from injury, and he was looking really good. So I think you can go, oh, well, maybe Josh Lowe should have been in. Well, if you look at Manny Margot through the last, how many games he played after he came back from injury, he was really hot. So I'm not going to fault him for that. But Chris Davinsky and Caminero, I'm 100% blaming Cash for.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll blame Cash for is, and again, maybe I'm wrong to say this, but like I just feel like Diaz at first, like maybe he should have been the DH in this series. Just kind of probably knowing more about us than with his injuries. Like it just didn't seem like he was healthy enough to play.
I just don't think there's an
know.
excuse for
I don't know if there's a
man.
better option either. I think we're so thin that I don't know if you can play.
Meade could have played
And
first,
he played it all
and
year.
then I apologize, I'm forgetting his name, but
So you're saying?
I don't remember.
So you're saying?
The guy we had been playing at third for like the whole year.
Played DH. Well, hey,
Brady?
that puts
Brady.
Harold out of the lineup and in the field. You can't have that.
I
You
mean,
can't
that
have
is
that.
No,
I
you
can't fault.
And people
you
were
can't have that.
begging for Harold, which I agree
I
he should have
begged
been
for
in.
him.
I was begging for Harold.
Yeah, so. But there's no excuse for Yandy. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for how he played.
He's got to play better.
I really don't think the injury bothered him that much because you're playing first base. No,
yeah,
it really shouldn't be hard on him. So.
I can't blame Cash on that one. Another one, playing Margot. I like to think that decision, like when it happened, I was okay with it. Even though Josh Lowe's been so hot, he's been one of our best players. I was okay because Margot had hit lefties and hit good enough to end the regular season that I was like, all right, I can live with this. Hindsight's always like, if it doesn't go good, obviously you want to fix it. But at the time, I felt okay with it, so I'm going to not fault Kevin Cash for that. Another one we can think of is the safety squeeze by Jose Siri, deciding to do that. I personally am all for that. I blame execution. You got to get that bunt down. But I think getting the run to tie it would have been so huge. And it's if a safety squeeze is executed correctly, it's almost impossible to defend. So I think that was the right decision. It was just poor execution. That's my opinion.
It would have been the first time we got close to having a lead in 50-something innings.
We needed to break that ice.
Yeah,
And I think it was
was
good that Kevin Cash recognized that. And also Jose Siri has very high strikeout potential, so that was the best chance of him having a productive.
When he put it in,
know.
I was like, let's go. I
when-
like this. And then the pitcher comes like Superman and gets it.
I
It was
just
a
think
horrible bunt.
when has he done that though the whole year? And he hit a boatload of home runs. I still think he should have told him to hit. Even if he struck out, I mean, it didn't really make much of a difference anyway.
Yeah.
And I think do what he's most comfortable with, and that's swinging. I mean, seriously, when was the last time he bunted this year?
He bunted a couple times, but I don't know. I just think you can't have a strikeout there. Obviously, you can't have a pop-up bunt there either, but I will defend that decision. I think it was the right decision, and I will defend Kevin Cash. But I can see it didn't work, so obviously I
think
can
it was
see both
dumb.
sides.
I don't think it was like game-wrecking or fire Cash rip. I think it was dumb.
I went like 180. I was like, yes. Oh no, that didn't work.
Yep. No. And then, with Diaz, I'm trying to think. We talked about keeping Glasnow in. I wouldn't have done it. I would have pulled Glasnow out. He was working really hard through those 5 innings. I would have pulled him. I thought he was going to. Obviously, if Glasnow had came in and got a 1-2-3 inning in the 6th, I would be like, yeah, that's a great start by Glasnow. But instead, it's like kind of mediocre. So.
Yeah, I think that one's still too like a hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, but I will say when he put him out there, I was like, I don't know. I thought they were going to pull Glasnow. And our bullpen, honestly, coming in, I thought was our strongest part of our team going into the playoffs. So I would have been okay putting bullpen in there.
I thought they were going to
even Davinsky with a clean inning, like a clean no bases, I would have felt all right with because he just gave up that one hit. So
I thought they were going to pull Glasnow in the middle of the inning before. Like I was like, all right, time to come out.
Yeah,
He got out of it.
He got out of it, and I felt like that was his moment.
That one was probably smart. It's like you need to get out of your mess, Glasnow.
Well, yeah, and he gets a lot of strikeouts, which what we needed, and he got 2 strikeouts,
Yeah,
so that was good.
was smart.
Yep. And then so I think we've gotten along. Is there anything else Kevin Cash related before we? I don't like when people are just like blindly like fire the manager. I think it's so coaches get a lot of blame and not a lot of praise, and I just wanted to like kind of like go through it as a podcast and people and just talk about it, talk it through. But I think that's all we're thinking of. I don't think Kevin Cash lost us this series personally.
No,
I personally am not gonna say fire Cash, but I will mention there are people out there who will say like a manager who hasn't won yet kind of runs out of time. He runs out of like getting the clubhouse motivated and all those things. So I don't think he gets fired. But if he was to get fired, it's because he's kind of lost the reputation maybe of the locker room, and it's time to bring in a different voice. Like you can only listen to the same voice in sports for so long if you're not a winner.
Yeah, but my problem is with that, if the Rays aren't willing to spend money, what's the point of bringing in somebody new? I think that's my biggest thing. I think if you see somehow the Rays make a bunch of moves this offseason, maybe make some big trades, and they go to the postseason in 24 and don't score any runs, then I would be able to say, okay, maybe
that's like
it's time to
Buffalo
move on
Bills
from
style.
Cash.
That's fair.
But I think you're 28th in spending. You fire Cash. How much? You're not going to get any better.
Yeah,
you're not going to get any better.
He's doing the best he can with what he has, honestly. And And he seems like I haven't seen anything where I feel like he's lost a clubhouse. I think a lot of those players respect him. He's always talking to someone. He's always making the decision. There hasn't been like a big blow up when he takes a pitch out or anything like that. So I don't think he's lost a clubhouse.
Sometimes Shane.
Yeah.
But Shane's
Shane's
a little emotional.
Shane's just a bulldog out there, and now we won't see him.
With all this, here's something that's interesting that's come up, I believe, since we recorded this the first time, is that Terry Francona would like Kevin Cash to at some point be his replacement in Cleveland. So could we be seeing something along the lines of what happened with Joe Madden, where he kind of steps away on his own terms and we replace him with somebody in-house? Like, that would be interesting. And honestly, I would be happy for Kevin Cash. Like, I know this is his home, but his heart partly is with Terry Francona. So it would be kind of a nice storybook ending for him if he was to go to Cleveland.
Maybe. We'll see. I wouldn't be like that opposed to Rodney Linares becoming the Rays manager.
Yeah,
I think he has
would
a
like
good grasp.
Rodney Linares.
So that's not like that wouldn't I think but again no. Do you want to pull pictures? That's what we'll be doing. We'll be doing like 2018 Rays stuff.
And
Opener, bullpen.
I'm sorry, I forgot how to say it.
Rodney
Linares. I know the name. He's Latino, right?
Yeah, I think he's Dominican.
I think that's the
My
move
only
to
thing
make.
is
I would do that. Like,
he
now.
totally choked the freaking World Baseball Classic.
Yeah,
man.
that's true.
That team shouldn't have lost.
But honestly, man, I don't think even if we're going to a manager of like Spanish, I don't think it changed anything. At this point, I don't
Charlie
think it should.
Montoya?
He would have the utmost respect for the clubhouse.
Yeah, but I think Kevin Cash does too. I don't think there's any. What have you seen?
Yeah, like they got a translator. They know what he says, and they can talk to each other.
Okay, to be fair, we did hear reports of locker room turmoil in this season with Wander Franco and Randy Rosarino. So maybe there's something, but I don't think a managerial change will do much of anything right now. I
agree with Will. I think this is Kevin Cash's last year to prove himself. If it doesn't go well,
I don't think so. I'd
give him the boot.
If they spend money and they play bad again in the postseason, yeah. But if they pull out the same thing where Pete Bendix comes out and says that, this is a championship team and we have our guys that we want and we only need to make a couple moves here and there for, like a reliever nobody's ever heard of or a batter like Roman Quinn, something like that. Okay, then I'm not going to say fire Cash even if they get embarrassed in the postseason again.
I will say though, last year I felt like Kevin Cash was doing everything he could. He was overmatched, but this year we saw what this team could do, and they still kind of underachieved. So if we see another year, spending or not spending, if it's prospects, if it's old players, I don't really care. If we see another year of Rays players excelling during the regular season and then just absolutely going off the rails in the playoffs, then we have to look at the regime in the clubhouse. So I don't know. It could be his last year. But I would say only this year is the year that I would diagnose that the team crazy underperformed. I'd say last year it was just a different team.
I disagree. I think this is just what you get when you spend little and you try to have somebody piece it together. They can master the regular season, which they've done, but this team full of low-wage guys just can't get it done. They can't do it. This is 2 years in a row now. I don't think they played bad, of course, but I think it's not going to change much if they played a little bit better. Even if they played a little bit better, it's not going to change anything.
No, but they played horrible. If they had played to their level,
they played horrible, but they also couldn't hit. They couldn't hit.
Well, that's part of playing horrible.
That's not every aspect of all of it was horrible.
Yeah, that's not. Just not hitting is not that's playing horrible. We saw all these guys
playing
hit
a little bit better. I just don't think because it's a regular season.
But they could play a lot bit better. We've seen those guys mash even those same exact pitchers in the regular season, and it's not that different. I know there's more pressure on you.
It is different.
It's different.
It's so different because it's just you get the emotions into it, and something's gonna give.
Man? There was 19,000 people there.
Before we move on to attendance,
it's always
because
different.
Attendance will be hit. I just want to say this: the saying of "fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me." I'm probably starting to get a bit too strong on this, but I've heard a couple people say it, and the idea is kind of out there right now. Am I done with Kevin Cash? I mean, I probably would be kind of happy if he was fired this offseason. Like, I know that's crazy. I know, like, I wouldn't have said that. But for this to happen 2 years in a row, there's something wrong with this locker room, and I think change might be necessary.
But they're not going to get any better if you fire him and you're still 28th in spending. Nothing is going to change.
This is one of the last points I really wanted to make in the show. But I think ever since 2020, I think the Rays, just as an organization, we have maybe a tendency, that's not the right word, but like it's just the way it goes is we're used to being losers. We're losers. 2020 wasn't even real, and we lost. Look at 2021, 2022, 2022, and 2023. You look at it and you're like, that's the same story, right? Like, whether it's a change of manager or whether it's bringing in winners. They might not necessarily be the biggest paid winners, but we need a change in the culture of this team. And if it comes through letting go of somebody like Kevin Cash, I'm okay with it. I am okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, loser's a strong word. Playoff losers, I know we're not winning champions of the regular season, but you still made it to the playoffs 5 years in a row. There's plenty of teams that would want to do that, and there's plenty of teams that are actually losers and have losers.
Here's what I'll say.
It's hard to say
those
that
teams were to do that and lose 5 years in a row, I think they would start to raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, it's hard to say that when you should expect to win now. We've had 5 years where we've gone to the playoffs, and instead of getting better, it's not like since
it's getting
2019,
worse. You're right.
it's not like,
It's
okay,
getting
well, we
worse.
lost wild
No.
card. Well, now we won divisional. Well, now we made it to the ALCS. We've gotten consistently worse. You have to expect better, and this organization cannot do it. The way they have run this team and the way they have spent and the way they have let the managers run the team, they will not win. They've continued to get worse. You can clearly see it's gone downhill instead of uphill. So
I will admit, I wasn't around for this. I was just a young little toddler. But I would imagine this is probably similar to the Tony Dungy, John Gruden situation that was going on with the Bucks. It's like he kept taking him there, but he couldn't get him to the promised land. So what do the Bucks do? They let him go, and they bring in John Gruden, and they win a Super Bowl the next year. Would that happen with the Rays? I don't know.
Maybe.
But I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to say, Kevin Cash, you might not be the manager.
yeah, but
for
did
us.
the Bucks not get to the NFC Championship
They
three
did.
times in a row?
They got there in '99.
Well, I
against
mean,
the
The
Rays
Rays
can't
made-
even get out of the wild card.
I mean,
That's
they made the World
true.
Series 3 years ago.
3
And
years
I'm
ago.
not gonna.
And
I'm
again,
not
I
doing
can
the bubble
honestly
debate
say,
right now.
I
I'm
honestly
good. You guys
think
know
like,
my opinion on that.
I'm starting to agree with it. I think it was a fluke. I really do.
It was a
because
fluke.
You had like half of a
Look
year
at
off.
what the Dodgers have done since
yeah,
then.
I know. The Dodgers are in the same boat. Like, okay, they got a ring, good for them, but it's not like they followed up that success. They're right back to where they were before that as just big postseason chokers. So, I mean, I think you could really look at that year as a fluke.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we all can agree something has to change this offseason, whether it's bringing in players that are older and leaders, whether it's getting a superstar, which, I mean, I'd love it, but it's unlikely. I'll be honest.
We're still owned by Steve Stern.
Yep, and then or it is a regime managerial change. I don't know. There has to be a tweak. There has to be a change in the DNA and makeup of this team, and it's not all about the baseball bats right now. It's about the attitude that takes a team from being a 99 win, one of the best records in the league, hitting home runs, don't care what you think, to a shell of a team who can't score in the playoffs. That's where the change has to be made.
All right, audience, this is the one move the Rays need to do in order to fix this team. Wander Franco's never going to be a Ray again. It's just time to accept it. We are re-signing Evan Longoria.
Play shortstop?
No, the guy. I'm blanking on the guy's name tonight, but
Isak?
Yeah, Isak Paredes will be our shortstop.
I don't know if he can play full-time
And
shortstop.
Evan Longoria will be batting
He can play
third,
full-time
playing
second,
third,
though.
and wearing 3.
Well, I mean, to be fair to Joel, you've seen the leadership skills that he has made. I mean, you've seen.
He's 10 years old.
No. But I'm saying, what he's done for the Diamondbacks, him and Tommy Pham.
Oh, true.
They've literally. They're making big plays, and they are taking a team full of pups, kids, and they're morphing them into they're playoff performers because they have 2 hardcore leaders that are helping them out and showing them the way, and it's helped them. They haven't lost a playoff game yet. So
I could see that more of playing a Brewers team that was lucky to be there and a Dodgers team that we've seen choke year after year.
Yeah, the NLCS will be a big show. Too.
I
the
think
Brewers
it's
weren't
good.
really lucky to be there. I mean, they won the division by a game. They had the fifth best
but
record in the MLB.
in a division of mediocrity because none of those teams were good in there, and they honestly deserved to lose that division. But the Cubs couldn't figure out how to catch a ball into right field.
Well, that wouldn't have been.
The Reds choked.
They had won the division by then.
I'm just saying, like that whole division was so mediocre, and the fact that
I
they
think
got
you're
in
taking.
is ridiculous.
I think you're.
I mean, we
hating too
knew
much
they
on
weren't
the
that good
Snakes,
this
man.
whole year. They were not. The Brewers were not good really this whole year. They won a couple games, big whoop, and I really think the Phillies are going to expose the Diamondbacks for being frauds. I think so.
They probably will,
personally.
but it is a good story that they made it this far.
Yeah,
And
it's-
will the D-backs even let go of Longo? Probably not.
No, he lives there in his offseason. I think he's a Diamondback.
But he
for-
wants to. I think he wants to retire, Ray.
I don't know. I think we lost our chance on that this last offseason.
we still got Duckies.
Yeah, there you go. We got Duckies.
He wants to come home to Duckies.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to talk about it.
It's the elephant in the room.
We hate it, but so in game 1 of this wildcard series, the Tropicana Field crowd was a whopping 19,704 people,
Featuring Joel Robinson. And my brother.
and Ethan, who's been on the show. And that was actually the lowest playoff crowd since 1919 by the Chicago White Stockings during a gambling
Scandal.
scandal. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. So yeah, so the Rays were making history, almost made the scoreless runs history, but they did make a crowd history. So, I mean, Joel, I'll start with you, man. What's up? What's up, man? What's up with this?
Okay, I mean, it's a day game, so you know the crowd's going to be a little bit smaller. But in 2019, we had day games, and we had 25,000 fans plus. It may have been more. I don't have the number on
I think it was 30.
Yeah, I was going to say 30, but I didn't want to overestimate. It was around 25,000, 30,000. It was a lot. And for this one, it's just like there was nobody there. It felt like a Thursday afternoon game, maybe even just a little bit bigger. It's like, oh, there's a good giveaway, so let's go out to the Thursday game. So that's what it felt like. It felt like a good giveaway game on an afternoon. It's like to go 4 years and to say, why is the crowd so small? I don't know. There was no atmosphere in there. Like there was times I was trying to do it to get the atmosphere going, and there was nothing. And part of that can be put on the blame of the teams not
there's
doing
nothing
anything.
to get the crowd
But I mean,
riled up for.
There's
so.
however many fans we just said it's not going to get that rowdy anyways. So, is it the start time of the games being early? Is it the quickness that they gave out the schedule? I mean, sure, all those things play into it, but we did it 4 years ago and it was packed. So my thought is that a lot of people are upset with Stu right now, and they said, I'm not supporting that guy. And then the other thing I've heard some people say this, I don't necessarily agree with it, is that there's a playoff fatigue in the area, and people were just saving their money to go to the divisional series.
Yeah, I don't agree with the playoff fatigue. I chalk it up more to the start time because I just think as a fan, like we're not analysts, we're not higher than any other fan who supports the Rays and loves the Rays. And believe me, I desperately wanted to go to at least one of these games. And I just straight up couldn't because of the time. There was just really no way around missing both games just because I had work and I had some stuff I had to take care of. And I bet you there's a lot of Rays fans in this area who can chalk it up to the same thing. They just straight up couldn't make it because of the time. And as a fan, too, I take offense because, again, I think you look at that they don't spend money to get over the hump. And Stu Sternberg has kept this team in a terrible stadium for 30 years, and nothing has been done about it until this year. And so I just think when you look at this game or you look at this series and then you want to blame the fans, that's not fair. And me as a fan, I take that personally, that somehow that we're the fault of the Rays losing because they weren't, hyped up because it was a packed stadium, this and that, playoff environment. I don't buy that because as a fan, I've spent plenty of money for that team, and the product they put on the field doesn't deserve a big crowd. It hasn't. 2 years in a row now, you can't hit. So I'm not going to blame the fans in any capacity, and I won't do it, and I still stand by that. I'm not blaming the fans. As a fan, I'm not blaming them.
going to vehemently blame the fans. I think the showing by the Tampa Bay Rays fans was absolutely pathetic. I think as a Tampa Bay Rays fan who didn't go, I'll be transparent, but I tried everything I could to get off work. I tried everything I could. It just didn't work out. I would have gone on Thursday if they won. Obviously, the play on the field sucked. It sucked last year. It sucked this year. However, that should not matter. It is a wild card playoff game for a team that's gone through the playoffs 5 years in a row. They won 99 games, and you can't sell out 35,000 tickets. Minnesota Twins are a similar market to the Rays.
But
they have not won.
But they have a really nice stadium.
They have more seats to sell, and they still sold them. The Minnesota Twins have not won a single playoff game. Not a series, a single playoff game since 2003 going into this 2023 Wildcard Series. They had a sold-out crowd at 4:30 in the afternoon. But when you come to Rays fans, it's always excuses. It goes, it's an afternoon game. I'm just going to wait till the division series. And it's not fair to the players. I don't care what they did. This 19,000 people showed up before they even crapped the bed of the game. It's pathetic. And we're talking about a team who looked like zombies walking, lifeless. That has to be part of it. I mean, all these people, all these kids, these players, these men have been, a lot of these people, these are their first home playoff games. They've been dreaming about playing in front of a home playoff crowd their whole entire life since they started playing baseball. They've been dreaming about a sold-out crowd. They get in the box, full count, bases loaded, bottom of the 8th inning, boom, grand slam, bat flips, crowd's going crazy, all of that. They've been dreaming about that. And they walk into their first home playoff game, and they just look up and all they see is empty seats. Do you know how demoralizing that has to feel for players? That's just, I can't even imagine that. And it's all because, Rays fans, there's plenty of diehard Rays fans that were at the game or were trying to go to the game or were watching the game and it just didn't work out. I get it. But there's also plenty of people that say that they're here and they're Lightning fans. Maybe they're Bucks fans, but something stops with the Rays. And I don't get it. I don't get why people just can't support. It's a playoff game. It is a playoff game. This is when the casual fans are supposed to come and watch the games. I don't know, it blows my mind. I'm just sick of the excuses. I think at some point, as a fan base, you have to take accountability.
No, I'm sorry. That's Fantasyland baseball. These guys are professionals. I don't care. I don't want to hear an excuse that they didn't play well because the stadium was empty. These guys are professionals and are getting millions of dollars to play. You better play your best. It shouldn't matter if there's cans in the seats. Yeah. You should play your best. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do so. And that pitiful performance should not be blamed on the fans at all. They didn't deserve to see that. And what world should I have wasted money to go see them score 1 run in 2 games? Yeah. What world? Nobody should spend money on that performance. And the team does not spend enough money to win. And I think fans are right to not go because that team was not going to win you a World Series. In the past 5 years, they weren't going to win you a World Series. And they're going to lie to you again next year and tell you that, we have the championship team. We have the championship team. We have the guys in place that are going to win it. And you know what? The same thing's going to happen. And so I'm not going to blame the fans. You can't do it. And you can't say that if it was a playoff environment, it would be any different because it wouldn't be. It 100% wouldn't be. And it's the same thing with the Twins. They had sellout stadiums, but they didn't beat the Astros. They beat a terrible Blue Jays team, but they didn't beat the Astros. Fans do not matter. It's about players that can win it. And this Rays team can't. And they've done it 2 years in a row now.
That's not the point.
Abysmal baseball.
But that's not the point. The point is you are a Rays fan. This is the biggest game of the Rays season, and you can't show up. You can't even get 30,000 people to show up to the game.
You don't think there was hundreds to thousands of other people who just couldn't get off work? Like all three, or all two out of three
there was
of us?
thousands of people that could have gone to the game and just chose not to to because something was inconveniencing them. And that's the problem with Rays fans. And there was thousands of people that are in the area that could easily be Rays fans, and they just choose not to, and they choose to pick another team.
Because
and it makes me so mad.
Why would you want to root for a team who doesn't do squat to try to win?
We're a 4A team, 4A.
Why would you want to root for this
In the
team?
middle.
That's why I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We compared ourselves to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks won a World Series. This Rays team hasn't, and they won't if they continue this trajectory. And I think, in fact, they're going to get worse and worse and worse. So I just think, who would want to root for this team? The owner sucks. Their stadium sucks.
You know the Mariners haven't won a World Series, and every time I watch a Mariners games, their stadium is packed
Nice stadium, centrally located.
And I don't care. You got it. But this is
good-
regular
good
season.
owner.
Look at what they've
They
done.
don't have
They've
a good
tried
owner.
to
They
put
have
in.
a trash owner.
They've tried.
Their
No,
owner-
they've tried to put in pieces to
No,
win.
they never spend money.
They kept Felix Hernandez around.
Bro, ask any Mariner fan. They never spend money on free agents. Robbie Ray was the first one they've ever done it. It's not. They don't spend money, but their fans show up because they're loyal fans and they stick through it thick and thin.
With that, it's the culture. They've put in place a good culture. They've brought in all the Japanese
How are you supposed
players.
to make a culture if no one's going to show up?
Us?
How?
You have to start the culture first.
How do you do that if you can't even get people to go?
You have more bark at the park days. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
At some point, you just.
It's all about ownership.
Ownership sucks. I get it, but the people of Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rays fans, you can't keep blaming everything. You can't keep blaming the traffic on the bridge. Can't keep blaming the stadium. It's not even that bad. It's not that bad. It's air conditioning. It's nice. It's good food. It's literally, there's nothing that bad about it. It's how am I, when I'm running the TB3 Sports Talk account, how can I defend the Rays fandom? There's literally nothing I can do. When someone says, all 10 people,
Will did just give you a couple.
all 10 people in the stadium were going crazy. How am I supposed to? But how am I be like, oh well, actually the traffic on the bridge was so bad.
I'm not
and no one,
talking
and
about
actually
the traffic.
the start time was so early. And actually, we've only won one playoff game in the last 3 years. Even though there's plenty of teams that would die to go to the playoffs once.
But that's not the point.
Yeah, it's
sure everybody would want to go to the playoffs, but we've been there. I want to see my team win.
No, but I'm saying,
I want to see them win.
How can they
I
win
don't
without a
care
playoff
about the
atmosphere,
playoffs.
though? How can they?
They
win?
can't. They're professionals.
I don't
They're
care.
professionals. They get paid millions of dollars.
2020. The
That
stands
doesn't affect
were
us.
full of cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, that doesn't affect us.
What do you mean?
They
that
were
affects
able to
us?
win.
I don't care about the millions. I don't care about the players. I agree they need to play better, but that doesn't affect the fact that you should show up and fill out a playoff stadium. Do you not agree with that? Do you not think that
what they've done does not deserve anybody's money. It's a waste, and they totally screwed people on playoff ticket pricing and this and
It was
that.
$30.
It's not fair.
It was only 30.
Yeah,
It was
because
$30.
but at the start of it, it
That's
was
so
50
affordable.
because nobody was buying it.
$50
Nobody's
is
gonna waste
affordable.
their
It's a
money.
playoff
Nobody's
game.
gonna waste their money on an abysmal performance.
and
I'm not, as a fan, I'm not gonna be the blame for their loss. I won't do it.
I'm
not
not
gonna
blaming the
blame
fans for
anybody
the
out
loss.
there. Well, you said that they didn't have a
I'm
playoff
saying-
environment
well,
and that
I'm
the Rays players played bad because there weren't people in the seats.
Okay. You don't think if Game 2, the Rays fans actually showed up and not made excuses, and if it was sold out Game 2, you don't think there would have been different? You don't think the players...
they would have lost. This
I
team
disagree.
would have lost.
They would have lost. They would have lost.
They would have lost.
The energy would have been better. We might have got a hit. Maybe.
The energy would have changed
We were
it.
down. We were done in that game in like the fourth inning.
Do you watch Philadelphia Philly baseball games?
They can hit the ball
Yeah.
and they
They
can
have a
play
big
and they can
stadium.
pitch.
And they've been around for 150 years.
They can hit the ball, but every time someone's up, the stadium rises and it swells and there's noise and you feel like they're going to get a hit because it's so electric in there. But the Rays will never even sniff anything like that. And you know
Because
what?
they can't hit. They can't hit and they can't win. The
They
Phillies
can't
went to
hit.
the World Series last year and almost won it. And this year they're doing the same
Phillies
thing.
went to the World Series last year and they hadn't been to the playoffs since 2008, the year before.
let me-
and they
let me-
sold out on the first game.
I apologize for arguing, but let me just ask you, how much more do you think the Phillies' payroll is than the Rays?
I think it's way more, but I don't think
there's
that
people to go
changed.
watch. All we have is Randy.
Philadelphia's fourth in payroll.
I don't think that changed, but I don't care.
It does. It is.
but that doesn't excuse.
They've had 150 years plus of history,
I think,
and they have a nice stadium.
I think
and
that the
ownership that's invested in Bryce Harper.
I think that is an excuse.
I could give some other ones,
Here,
but I can't.
That
think
is
of
an
them.
excuse for why the Phillies are doing better than us. That is a
That's why
reason.
there's more
I agree.
people in the stands.
However, that is not an excuse for Tampa Bay Rays fans to just not show up at all. And
Yeah.
I'm disappointed and disgusted by it.
Here's-
That's it.
here's
And you're not
something-
going to change my mind on
Here's
it.
something I'll say. This is changing subjects, but on the subject of the attendance, part of the reason why the attendance was so bad in this series isn't because of where the stadium's located. It isn't about start time. There wasn't that many Rangers fans in there. I would probably be willing to estimate that there were under 200 Rangers fans in that stadium. In the past, we've played the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are bringing in like a third of the fans, maybe even a quarter, or sorry, 2 quarters, half. And then with the Astros, when we played them a couple years ago, one of the last times we really had a series in there that wasn't COVID or anything like that, there was a lot of Astros fans. So I think part of the reason why there was nobody here is because nobody really cares about the Rangers in Tampa Bay. We don't have that big of a fan following. So is that good news? No, it stinks. I hate having a half and half stadium. But that is part of the reason why there is some blame there, is because the Rangers aren't a big draw. Fans aren't going to come to go see them. They can see them in Texas later. And then as well, the economy right now is not at its best. Baseball is the secondary choice. Food and gas is more important. Mortgage as well. All of those things. And baseball, you can more easily watch on TV. Plus, you have to take off work. And what are you going to do when you take off work? You're going to lose money. So the economy and the need for money, and baseball being the secondary choice here, was a reason why. Is that something that's going on in Minnesota and all those places as well? Yeah, it is. But those places have an established fan base. The Rays fan base is a lot like what Las Vegas is looking at. We are a fan base that a third of our attendance on most nights is opposing fans. And Texas, here's something. I was playing hat bingo throughout the year, and I never saw a Texas hat during any of the games. There's just no casual Texas fans here.
Yeah, I mean, that's still, I don't know. I think there's enough fans, and there's enough diehard fans and loyal fans, and people with the money, with the time. I mean, we live in a very old, retired, heavy area, especially on our side, the St. Pete side of the bay.
Sorry, those people are Yankees fans.
Yeah, well, they could come and
support your local team because you live in Tampa Bay.
There's plenty of them that could
Had
be
we
Rays
played
fans.
the Yankees or the Red Sox,
it would have been full,
or the Tigers,
but it still
we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's not really comforting to me. But it's true.
that's
No,
just
it's true.
the
It's
lifestyle
facts.
there
It's
is.
facts. No, it's facts. I'm with you. But yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in that. I see both sides. I understand the playoff performance the last 3 years has not been what we wanted. I get it. I'm with you guys, but that to me, I'm part of other fan bases. Like when I think of being like a Florida Gator fan, I think of the stadium is packed out even when we've been trash. So it's just, to me, it just seems like I just don't like it, and I wish Tampa Bay Rays fans would step up as opposed to kind of making excuses for the poor attendance. But I get it. I want the team to spend more money. I want the team to win more playoff games. I don't disagree there. But
I'm sorry,
no,
I cut you off.
that's it.
All of this boils down to 2 issues, and I will say, I think on the field product sucked, but outside of the game, this series has been good. I would dare even say great for the Rays. The national media is zooming in. Like even on the Game 2 telecast, they were making jokes. They're like, they're about to build a stadium right next door. So the world is keen. The world knows this St. Pete Stadium is not going to work. And Rob Manfred hasn't really put any of his opinions into this. And there's a lot of deals and things that still need to work out for the St. Pete Stadium. So this was a major nail in the coffin of the St. Pete Stadium. I personally don't think this stadium is going to happen. There needs to be more approvals going on in the community over the next year. And they can look at this and they can say, this is primetime baseball. It's not primetime. This is big-time baseball. This is what everybody's looking forward to. And nobody's coming out. So I think there could be some no's going across the board here. And does this mean that we get our stadium in Tampa because Tampa steps up to the plate and makes their move and convinces the Rays to come? Hopefully. But on the other side of this as well, it's an important saying in life is, if you love something, let it go.
Send them to Nashville.
If
we don't deserve
If we're
them.
only going to draw like under 20,000 fans for a playoff game, it might be better that they go to Nashville. Like, will I be sad? Yes. But if they're not going to Tampa, they will never, ever, ever succeed. Stu Sternberg has all of the money right now from the TV deal in a separate account. There are sources out there that'll tell you that. I don't have them on me. So when he sells this team, I think that money probably will go with him. So we're going to have a team with no TV money coming in. A lot of it was taken by him when he signed it up front. We're going to have a crappy stadium in a crappy location. Sure, it'll be nice, but we're not going to put in that much money for it. They're saying it's going to have all the bells and whistles, but this is a cheap owner, and he's going to cut costs where he can. And we're going to have a stadium that nobody can get to. If all this is going to happen, for my sake as a Rays fan, if they have to go to Nashville to avoid all this, I'll let them. It's okay. I love them, so I'll let them go. So it's sad, but this is the spot where we're at in Rays baseball. Hopefully it all lived happily ever after and we have a stadium in the Ybor City area, or they're in Nashville and they can get the big players. Evan Longoria comes back to them. They're playing as the Stars or whatever they're going to be called there, and he can go out with the franchise, and we can watch from afar, and it'll be okay. Or we'll be the Marlins, but uglier because we're called the Rays, and the Marlins name is cool. So I don't want to be the Marlins. Let them go to Nashville.
I hate to disagree, but I just have to because I think you could put that stadium in downtown Clearwater. You could put it on an island. You could put it in under the Bayside Bridge or under the Skyway. I just think, and fans will come as long as you build a team that's willing to win and you spend the money and do what it takes and make moves at the trade deadline. I think you can fill a stadium anywhere, and until the Rays,
if we have a stadium in St. Pete, we're not going to be able to afford to do that.
I think, but that's the difference though with other teams. We're not a poor franchise. We have plenty of money, but we're unwilling to spend it.
Stu's
That's a
about to take
difference.
it all with them.
That's a difference.
I mean, that makes us a poor franchise, though.
Stu's about to take all the money with him.
And I would like to see that because I just find that hard to believe that he's pocketing money on a TV deal that he's not giving to the team. I feel like there's too many legal things with that to where he couldn't do that. I just think
there are trials
he
that are
has the
supposed to be
money
coming
and
out on it, but they haven't
he
done
has
it
the
yet.
money to spend to get better players, and he won't do it until he does. It doesn't matter where this team goes. You can put him in Ybor City. If they play like this in the postseason and they don't get good players and they don't make moves at the trade deadline, they're not going to fill up the stadium there either.
Once the stadium's built, he will sell the team, and the team is going to be broke because they just bought the team and there's not much revenue coming in, especially if we're in St. Pete. So this is a problem that we're not going to get away from. We will be a poverty franchise as long as we're playing in St. Pete.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So there's happy news in that, I would say.
Yeah.
Like be happy the day that they say
No.
we're moving to Nashville.
I think I was like in the middle, leaning like it's okay that they're staying in St. Pete, but now I'm like, I can't stand
and
that.
it's not sealed. The deal is not sealed. You'll see news clips, newspaper clips, YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff, Twitter reports, but there's still a lot of voting that has to come in for this to be approved.
Well,
and this showcase we've just put on in the last month is going to make a lot of people say no.
I mean, the problem is though is that it's not set in stone, but the vote has to be between the Pinellas County Board of Directors who were at the stadium announcement and are all on board with it. So I think I think it's more set in stone than you.
There's a lot of financing that hasn't been settled yet. Like, it looks all pretty and stuff, but, and I apologize, I don't have the sources, but I think they said it's going to be like $1 billion more than they were planning on. Like, they said it was going to be this much, and now like a couple weeks later they're like, actually the price is this.
Yeah.
So the price is going to fluctuate. It's not set in stone. And
I don't know. I think after that press conference, it seems to be a lot more set in stone
there-
because Rob
there-
Manfred
there was a press
of the
conference in
MLB,
Ybor City.
Rob Manfred is on this
Ybor
one.
City.
But I don't know. But again, at the end of the day,
Where have you heard that Rob Manfred's been on? Is it on it? I don't
they
think he
said
is.
it. They said he was so they just lied and said he wasn't
I
on
need
board.
to see it from his lips.
Yeah, I think if this was to get
'Cause he
shot
wants- he
down,
wants it in Tampa.
It's gonna come more from the MLB. Like I do think there's a chance that MLB just kind of just doesn't let it happen.
You bring up a great point. Another reason why I think this is just the soapbox little thing quick. Another reason why Rays fans aren't coming to the stadium for postseason games is the Rays Montreal little sign he put up a couple years ago in the stadium for the postseason.
That cursed us, honestly.
I mean, like-
we won that first game when it was there, and then we've lost every single playoff game since.
Yeah, so like that didn't make very many Rays fans happy, and we don't like to go to the postseasons to support that kind of advertising.
Yeah, you still show up. But, yeah, I mean, that's about it. I think we should – this is Rays only for this one. We'll get you guys a normal TB3 episode coming up this week. We are hopefully past all of our technical difficulties. Thank you guys for bearing with us.
We're still Rays fans. Like we'll talk We'll talk about free agency, the hot stove, who we want, and all those kind of things. Right now, we're just looking back at this series that was a couple weeks ago, and we're upset. But 2024 comes around, and we're still kicking at this. We're gonna be positively talking.
We'll
some
be
Rays
there
baseball.
March 28th, opening day against the Toronto Blue Jays.
And then and once the MLB season wraps up and free agency starts kicking in, we'll get you guys some wish lists and some hopefully reliable, realistic targets, some dream targets. You know, who might go, who might stay, who might
all that fun stuff.
Yeah, all that good stuff. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. But this is just a recap of the playoff series that did not go our way in a numerous amount of ways, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
Cinderella stories happen all the time. We as Rays fans, we're looking for the next Cinderella story. And it didn't come this year, but we are hoping and hoping and hoping it's coming in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys for supporting us through our Rays talk. That's been every episode of the show so far. We've talked a lot of Rays, so thank you guys for that. We're still got plenty of stuff to talk about throughout the end of the year and going into the new year. So, I mean, thank you guys for supporting. Thank you guys for bearing with us last week. And, I mean, that's about it. We'll just be on the lookout. This will probably come out Monday the 16th, and you'll probably get a normal TB3 episode Wednesday the 18th. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. And again, you know, when we post this and stuff, let us know what you think, man. Who's right, who's wrong. Maybe give some other takes about the Rays that we might not have discussed. So we'd love to hear feedback from you guys. We'd absolutely love it. So I'm not going to end with music tonight. It's a special episode, and it's a kind of a downer. So we're just going to let it go cold silence here. Thank you for listening.
Don't worry, guys. The Rays will be back in like 180 days. And it'll be good.